Hi, this is the homework for page 56. We're going to skip 19 and 20. And I'm looking for some of this work, so I may show a couple different ways to do it. And again, your way doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but it will help you prepare for an assessment on this topic. Okay, so here we see, and I can use patty paper to kind of prove this. We see that this angle here on the left, this is the angle I'm talking about. The measurement of this angle right here has to equal the measurement of this angle right there. You see how those fit just perfectly like a glove. So what we recognize in geometry is that when you have two lines that cross and essentially four angles get created, 1, 2, 3, 4 angles get created, the two angles that are opposite one another are equal. And that just doesn't happen some of the time, it happens all the time. So we can write usually the first step, maybe I'm not going to have enough room there, so let me actually write my steps here. My first step is just to set these equal to each other. So the first angle is equal to 2x, and the angle on the right is equal to 3x minus 42. Okay, and again, the reason is this is called because they're vertical angles, and again, that's just the name of what we call it. The reason is technically because this is what everyone generation after generation has observed, is that the angle on the left has to equal the angle on the right, and that's a phenomenon we observe, and we gave it a name, vertical angles. Next, you don't have to show it in your steps, but this is a way of making sure I don't skip any steps. So if I subtract 2x on both sides, I'm going to get 0 on this side, and I still have 1x and a negative 42. So what I've done is I've subtracted on both sides. That's called subtraction property of equality. Okay. Now, again, you may have done it slightly different than me, but I think most students, maybe they did this part first. They added 42 on both sides. So if we add 42 on both sides, this side has a 1x. This side, 0 plus 42 is 42. So it looks like we could divide by 1 on both sides as well, but most students would say, I think we're pretty much done there. So I added 42 on both sides, so that's called addition property of equality. Awesome. Now I'm not done. It said find the value of the variable, which I did, but now I also have to find the measure and label each angle. So this angle right here is 2x. So if x was 42, 2 times 42 is 84. And that should be the case over here. So let's plug this one in. 3 times 42 minus 42 would be 126 minus 42, 84. Awesome. Now we're done. So, and you could highlight your answer. So they asked me to find the measure of each angle and label it, which I did, and find what x equals. And we said x is equal to 42. Awesome. Now notice again, this is a much bigger angle. So this angle, the bigger angle here, should match this bigger angle. Make sense? This bigger angle here matches that other bigger angle. So to set up the problem, I'm going to say the angle on the top, 4x plus 21, has to equal this angle on the bottom, 6x minus 23. And that's called vertical angles. Now, one first step, I could subtract 21 on both sides. Get 4x, 44, and I subtracted on both sides. So subtraction, property of equality. Sorry about that, ran off the page. Oops, I don't like that I did that. So let's Whoa. I think I would have rather, and maybe this happens to you too. You're like, oh, I think I would have been more successful doing something else. You can retrace your steps if you like a different way, but I don't like that I got nothing on that other side. I thought I could have taken a step, but I actually think I should have maybe subtracted a 4x on both sides. Still going to be able to come to the right answer, but let's do it that way first. Okay, so I get 21 is equal to 2x minus 23. Okay, now here's maybe why I didn't want to subtract the 21. It looks like it's going to be easier. I got to get x by itself on one side. It's going to be easier if I add 23 to both sides. Okay, so if I add 23 to both sides, that's going to help me get x by itself. All right, so I have 2x equals 44. Yeah, and so since I added 23 on both sides, that's going to be addition, property of equality. And then it seems like the common last step here is always to divide if I still have a number with my x. So if I divide, kind of getting a little squishy, but 44 divided by 2 is 22. So x is 22, and that's division, property of equality. Now let's plug in to find the measurement of our angle and see if we got it right. So if x really is 22, 4 times 22 plus 21 is 109. And now let's try it out with this one. 6 times 22 minus 23. I get 109. So this angle is 109, that angle is 109, and x is equal to 22. Next one. They're opposite one another, so that means those are vertical angles. 3x minus 47 has to equal 2x plus 8 because of vertical angle theorem. These are vertical angles. Now, I think if I subtract 2x on both sides, it'll get all my x's to one side. So 3x minus 2x is 1x. And that's called subtraction, property of equality. Now, if I add 47 on both sides, I still have 1x, so I'll just write it x. That goes away, and this now I have 55. And since I added 47 on both sides, that's called addition, property of equality. And I don't need to divide anymore. So our hypothesis is x is equal to 55, and that will make both sides equal. So let's try that out. 3 times the 55 minus 47 is 118. And let's try this side. 2 times 55 plus the 8. $118. Okay, so we know we got it right because we got the same angle on both sides, and that means this angle measurement is 118 and that angle measurement is 118 when x is 55. Next one. Now once again, we have an angle here on top which should equal the measurement of the angle on bottom. So the 5x should equal 8x minus 75. Vertical angles. So, if I subtract 5x on both sides, I'll get 0 is equal to 3x minus 75, and I subtracted. So that's subtraction, property of equality. And now it looks like I need to add 75 on both sides. Hopefully you're figuring out, you could have flip-flopped these two steps and it would still get you the same answer. So maybe you would have added 75 first and then subtracted 5x. Both of those would be fine. So we get 75 is equal to 3x. Addition property of equality. And then last but not least, it looks like we need to divide both sides by 3. And so this has to say division property of equality. And that should be 25. Okay, so to double check this and to finish the problem, let's see what we would get. So here, if the angle is 5x and we think x is 25, 5 times 25 is 125. All right, now if we think x is 25, 8 times 25 minus 75. Aha, 125. So we love it. We got the answer we were hoping for. This angle, 128, and that angle, 125, are equal to each other because of the vertical angle theorem, and they're equal to one another when x is 25. Check out the next video for question number 18.